There's a story of a woman named Immaculée Libergiza, a survivor of the Rwanda genocide. She lost her entire family in one of the most brutal massacres in history. For 91 days, she hid in a tiny bathroom with 7 other women, listening to the voices of men who wanted to kill her. When she finally came out, the world she knew was gone. Her parents, siblings, and friends had all been brutally murdered. Yet, years later, she did something unthinkable. She forgave the man who had killed her mother and brother. She looked him in the eye and said, "I forgive you." How does one do that? How does one forgive the seemingly unforgivable? Forgiveness is one of the hardest things a person can do. It is also one of the most powerful. It is the decision to release the burden of anger, resentment, and revenge, even when justice seems out of reach. It is not about excusing the wrong or pretending the pain never happened. It is about choosing not to let that pain define you. Why is forgiveness so difficult? Forgiveness is difficult because the hurt is real. Whether it's a betrayal by a loved one, injustice in the workplace, or wounds from childhood, pain has a way of lodging itself deep within us. It demands justice, closure, or at least recognition. But life is rarely fair. Sometimes apologies never come. Sometimes the people who hurt us move on without a second thought. The bitterness remains, not in them but in us. Nelson Mandela, after spending 27 years in prison, famously said, "As I walked out the door towards my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness behind, I would still be in prison." Imagine, after years of unjust imprisonment, he chose freedom not just from physical chains but from the chains of hatred. The misconception about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Some wounds run too deep to ever be erased, but we can choose to remember differently, not with pain but with wisdom. Forgiving is not weakness. It takes incredible strength to let go of pain and extend grace. It is easy to hate. It is hard to love. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Some relationships should not be restored, but that does not mean you must carry the bitterness forever. How do you forgive when it feels impossible? One, you acknowledge the pain. You can't heal what you do not confront. Be honest about how deeply you were hurt. 2, release the need for revenge. Understand that holding on to bitterness does not harm the other person. It harms you. 3, shift your perspective. Often, those who hurt us are also broken in their own ways. This doesn't excuse their actions, but can also help us see beyond our pain. 4, take your time. Forgiveness is a process. It doesn't always happen in a moment, but in daily choices to let go. 5, see a therapist. Sometimes the wounds run too deep for us to process alone. A therapist can help untangle painful emotions, provide coping mechanisms, and guide you towards healing. Taking professional help is not a sign of weakness. It is a step forward, reclaiming your emotional well-being. Forgiveness is a gift to yourself. There was a story of 2 monks who were working and they came across a woman who needed help crossing a river. One of the monks carried her on his back, then set her down on the other side. Hours later, the other monk said, "I can't believe you carried that woman. It was against our vows." The first monk replied, "I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" Many of us carry the weight of resentment long after the moment has passed. The person who hurt us may have moved on, yet we remain imprisoned by our anger. Forgiveness is not about them, it's about setting ourselves free. So who do you need to forgive? And more importantly, when will you set yourself free?